The viewing room on the Zerdaxian command ship was silent. Supreme Conqueror Vexther and his officers watched screens showing the 3 remaining challenges. John Miller and Susan Wright stood quietly behind them, trying not to show their hope. The first screen, Sam Carter moved smoothly through the deep ocean trenches of Aquarius 7. The pressure at this depth would crush most creatures, but Sam had trained his body for years to handle extreme water pressure. His alien opponent, a squid-like being named Mordic, struggled to keep up. "Impossible," muttered one of the Zerdaxian officers. "The human has no technical assistance, yet he withstands pressure that would kill most species." Carter lived in an underwater station for 7 years, Susan explained. His body adapted. He can hold his breath for nearly 15 minutes and withstand pressures that would harm most humans. On the second screen, Diane Foster crossed the radiation-blasted desert of Dryax. The planet's twin suns beat down mercilessly. Diane moved during the coolest parts of the day and created shelters during the hottest times. She found water in places that looked completely dry. Her opponent, a stone-skinned alien named Grax, had stopped moving. He sat in the shadow of a rock, unable to continue in the heat. "Your desert expert is winning as well," Vexther observed, his voice tight with concern. "Diane has led expeditions across every major desert on Earth," John said. "She knows how to find water where others see only sand and rock." The third screen showed Paul Jackson on the unstable moon called Graviton. This strange world had rapidly changing gravity. 1 minute it was 3 times Earth's gravity. The next it was almost 0. Paul moved in a rolling, flowing motion that adapted to each change. His opponent, a tall, thin alien named Zell, stumbled with each gravity shift. 4 out of 5, Susan whispered to John. "We're going to win." Vexther turned all 3 eyes toward them. "This proves nothing. You selected specific environments that favor your biology." "No," John said firmly. "We selected environments that require adaptation. That's what humans do best. We adapt to changing conditions." "The Alliance has conquered hundreds of worlds," Vexther insisted. "We are the supreme species of the galaxy." "You conquered worlds with your technology," Susan pointed out. "But when that technology is removed, you struggle to adapt." One of the Zerdaxian officers approached Vexther and spoke quietly. The Supreme Conqueror's face showed anger and disbelief. He turned back to the humans. "All 3 of your remaining team members have reached their extraction points," Vexther announced, "while only one of our warriors succeeded." John tried not to smile. "That means humans have won 4 challenges out of 5. Vexther stood very still. The room was tense with silence. Finally, he spoke. "According to our agreement, we should recognize Earth as an equal and offer alliance instead of demanding submission." "That was our deal," John agreed. Vexther's 3 eyes blinked rapidly. "However, there is a tradition in the Alliance. When a species shows unexpected strength, they must face one final test." Susan stepped forward. "That wasn't part of our agreement." "It is now," Vexther said coldly. "Unless you wish us to consider this challenge void and proceed with the original evaluation." John and Susan exchanged looks. They had no real choice. "What is this final test?" John asked. "Combat," Vexther said. 1 warrior from each side. To prove your species has the strength to stand with the Alliance." Before John could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. A Zerdaxian rushed into the room. "Supreme Conqueror, our sensors detect multiple launches from Earth. Have fired weapons at our ships." Vexther turned to John, his alien face twisted with anger. "Treachery. While you distracted us with these challenges, your people prepared to attack." "That's not possible," John said, shocked. "We made no such plans." Susan grabbed John's arm. "We need to contact Earth now." Vexther gestured to his guards. Take them to the holding cells. Prepare all ships for battle. We will show these humans what happens to those who betray the Alliance." As guards surrounded them, John noticed one of the Zordaxian officers watching them. Unlike the others, this alien seemed troubled by Vexthera's orders. His name was Zalter, and he had been present during all the challenge viewings. John and Susan were locked in a small room with a force field across the doorway. They could feel the ship moving as it changed position. "Something's wrong," Susan said. "President Davis would never authorize an attack during negotiations." "I know," John agreed. "But how do we prove that to Vexther?" The force field suddenly disappeared. Zalter stood in the doorway. "Quickly," he said. "There isn't much time." "What's happening?" John asked as they followed the alien down a corridor. "Vexther ordered the attack on your planet," Zalter explained. "He sent fake signals to make it appear that Earth fired first." "Why would he do that?" Susan asked. "Pride," Zalter said simply. "In 1,000 years, no species has ever defeated the Alliance in the challenge trials. Vexther would rather start a war than admit humans are equal to us." They reached a small hangar with a transport ship. "This will take you back to Earth." Zalter said, "You must warn your people and prepare your defenses." "Why are you helping us?" John asked. Zalter was quiet for a moment. "I have watched your people during these challenges. You showed skill, yes, but also compassion. Your team members helped. Our warriors, even when it might cost them victory. That is not the action of a species that deserves conquest. Come with us," Susan suggested. "Vexther might punish you for helping us." Zalter shook his head. "I must stay and try to convince others in the Alliance that this war is wrong. Some already question Vexther's leadership after your success in the challenges." As John and Susan boarded the transport, Zalter gave them a small device. "This contains information about our weapon systems and defense capabilities. It might help your people survive what is coming." "Thank you," John said, taking the device. "One more thing," Zalter added. "Our weapons and ships are calibrated for the specific conditions of our home worlds. They may not function as effectively in Earth's environment. Your planet's atmosphere, gravity, and magnetic field are different from what our systems are designed for." With that final piece of information, Zalter closed the transport door. The small ship launched, heading toward Earth. Inside the transport, Susan examined the device Zalter had given them. "If what he says is true, we might have a chance." "A small one," John agreed. "But we need to reach Earth before the attack begins." The transport sped through space. Through the viewport, they could see the massive Zordaxian ships moving into attack formation. The fate of Earth now depended on whether they could get home in time and whether humans could once again adapt to survive. The small transport ship landed at Earth Defense Headquarters just as the sky began to fill with the massive shapes of the Zordaxian warships. John Miller and Susan Wright ran from the landing pad straight to the control room where President Olivia Davis was already organizing Earth's defenses. "Commander Miller, Lieutenant Wright," the President said, relief clear in her voice. "We feared you were captured or worse." "We almost were," John said, trying to catch his breath. "Vexther is planning to attack Earth. He's angry that we won the challenges." "We won?" President Davis asked, momentarily distracted. 4 out of 5, Susan confirmed. "But instead of honoring our agreement, Vexther decided to attack anyway. He sent fake signals to make it look like we fired first." John placed Zalter's device on the command table. "This contains information about their weapons and ships. And we have a possible advantage." As technicians began downloading the data, John explained what Zalter had told them. Their technology is calibrated for the specific conditions of their home worlds. Earth's gravity, atmosphere, and magnetic field are different enough that their systems might not work perfectly here. Dr. Alan Peterson, who had been listening nearby, stepped forward excitedly. That makes sense. Their technology is highly precise. Even small environmental differences could cause significant problems. Can we use that? President Davis asked. Yes, Susan said firmly. We need to implement Operation Homeground immediately. Operation Homeground was the strategy Susan and John had developed as a last resort. Instead of meeting the aliens in space, where their superior technology gave them every advantage, Earth's forces would fight on the ground, using the planet's natural environments. Send out the orders, President Davis said. All defense forces will follow the home ground protocols. Across Earth, military units moved into position. Unlike traditional warfare, they didn't gather in large groups or defend major cities. Instead, they spread out into the environments they knew best. Navy SEALs and Marine units took positions in coastal waters and swamps. Mountain troops headed for high elevations. Desert warfare specialists moved to arid regions. Jungle fighters disappeared into dense forests. Each group carried minimal technology, just enough to communicate and basic weapons. The first Zordaxian ships entered Earth's atmosphere 3 hours later. Their weapons fired at major cities, but something strange happened. Many of the energy beams missed their targets. Some weapons failed to fire at all. It's working, Dr. Peterson said, watching the data feeds. Earth's magnetic field is interfering with their targeting systems, and our atmosphere is affecting their energy weapons. In space, Vexter raged at his weapons officers. Why can't you hit simple stationary targets? The planet's conditions are causing calibration errors, an officer explained. We need time to adjust our systems. We don't have time, Vexter snapped. Send in the ground troops. We will take this planet the old way. Zordaxian landing craft descended to Earth's surface, carrying thousands of alien soldiers in advanced combat suits. They expected to find humans hiding in their cities. Instead, they found the cities mostly empty. The first real battle happened in the Amazon rainforest. A Zordaxian unit found itself being picked off one by human fighters who appeared and disappeared among the trees. The alien sensors couldn't penetrate the dense vegetation. Their combat suits, designed for open terrain, got tangled in vines and bogged down in mud dot in the Rocky Mountains. Alien soldiers struggled with the thin air at high elevations. Their breathing equipment, calibrated for standard oxygen levels, couldn't adjust quickly enough. Human mountain troops, accustomed to the conditions, moved easily through terrain that left the aliens gasping and disoriented. Off the coast of Japan, Zordaxian water units discovered that Earth's oceans were different from the seas of their conquered worlds. The pressure, salinity, and currents confused their navigation systems. Navy divers, using simple equipment but with bodies adapted to these waters, ambushed the aliens repeatedly. Back at Earth Defense Headquarters, reports of similar successes came in from around the world. The aliens had superior weapons and technology, but they couldn't use them effectively in Earth's varied environments. We're holding them off, but for how long? President Davis asked. They still outnumber and outgun us. Eventually, they'll adapt their systems. Before John could answer, the radar operator called out, "Massive energy signature detected. The Zordaxian flagship is descending. It's heading straight for us." The enormous ship of Supreme Conqueror Vexter appeared in the sky above the headquarters. It hovered there, weapons pointed downward. "They've found us," Susan said quietly. "A communication signal came through." Vexter's face appeared on the main screen. "Humans of Earth," he said, his voice cold with anger. "Your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and some of you may survive as slaves." President Davis stepped forward. "We won your challenge fairly. We proved humans are your equals, if not your superiors in adaptation. Honor your agreement. I make the rules, Vexter snarled. You have 1 hour to surrender before I destroy your headquarters and everyone in it. The screen went blank. The room was silent as everyone looked to President Davis for guidance. Options? She asked simply. Dr. Peterson spoke up. Weather reports show a major storm system moving this way. It should hit in about 40 minutes. How does that help us? Susan asked. Earth weather is far more variable than anything on there. Home worlds, Dr. Peterson explained. Their ships aren't designed for sudden weather changes. John nodded slowly. We need to hold out until the storm hits. Then launch everything we have at them when their systems are most vulnerable. It's risky, President Davis said, but it might be our only chance. For the next 40 minutes, Earth's remaining air defenses kept the Zordaxian ships busy. They couldn't do much damage, but they prevented the aliens from getting a clear shot at the headquarters. Then the storm arrived. Dark clouds rolled in. Rain fell in sheets. Lightning flashed across the sky. Wind gusted to over 100 miles per hour. The Zordaxian ships began to drift in the wind. Their stabilizers, designed for calm conditions, couldn't compensate for the rapidly changing air currents. Now, John ordered, Earth's fighters attacked from all directions. The Zordaxians fired back, but their targeting systems failed completely in the storm. Lightning struck several of the smaller ships, overloading their electrical systems. On the flagship, Vexter watched in disbelief as his fleet was thrown into chaos by mere weather. A massive lightning bolt struck his ship directly. The lights flickered. Systems failed across the bridge. Retreat, Vexter ordered. Get us out of this planet's atmosphere. But it was too late. The damaged flagship lost power and began to fall. Emergency systems slowed its descent enough to prevent a catastrophic crash, but the massive ship still hit the ground hard several miles from the headquarters. 2 hours later, John and Susan stood in the rain, facing Vexter across a makeshift negotiation table. The Supreme Conqueror had survived the crash, though many of his officers had not. Your world, Vexter said bitterly, is truly a death world. To you, maybe, John replied. To us, it's home. We evolved here. We adapted to its challenges. That's humanity's greatest strength. Vexter looked at the ruins of his ship. I offer terms for our withdrawal. We're listening, Susan said. The Alliance will recognize Earth as a sovereign world, not to be conquered or interfered with. In exchange, you allow us to collect our forces and leave your system. John looked at President Davis, who had joined them. She nodded. Double quotes we accept, John said, with one addition. We want cultural and scientific exchange. We have things to learn from each other. Vexter was silent for a long moment. Perhaps, he finally said, the Alliance has been conquering for too long. Perhaps we have forgotten how to adapt. As the rain continued to fall, humans and aliens began the process of making peace. The Death World had taught its final lesson. The giant ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It was unlike anything humans had ever built, smooth, silver, and as big as a small city. At first, people thought it might be a joke or a secret project. But when the ship started, broadcasting messages to every radio, TV, and digital device on the planet, everyone knew it was real. President Lisa Winters was in a meeting when her aide rushed in with the news. She had been president for only 8 months. Before that, she had been an astronaut who walked on Mars. Now she had to deal with visitors from beyond the solar system. Get me Admiral Harris, she said, her voice steady even though her hands shook slightly. And call an emergency meeting of the Earth Cooperative Alliance. The Ichu had formed 10 years ago when the world's nations finally realized they needed to work together. Climate disasters, Food shortages and the race to space had forced them to cooperate. Now that cooperation would face its biggest test, Admiral Frank Harris arrived at the White House 20 minutes later. His uniform was perfectly pressed, but his eyes showed worry. Madam President, the alien vessel is not responding to our attempts at communication. They're broadcasting the same message over and over in thousands of languages, including several dead human languages. They call themselves the Galactic Council. President Winters nodded. What exactly are they saying? Harris handed her a tablet. This is the English version. Our linguists say the translations are surprisingly good. She read the message, and her face grew pale. The message was simple and frightening. Earth's rapid progress in technology was dangerously unpredictable. Humans had two options: stay on Earth and give up space travel, or face corrective measures. They had one Earth year to decide. They want us to abandon the Mars colony and stop building on Europa? Winters asked. Yes, Madam President. They want us to take apart everything we've built beyond Earth's atmosphere. Winters stood up and walked to the window. The sky was blue and peaceful. Somewhere up there, invisible to the naked eye, aliens were threatening humanity's future among the stars. We need more information, she said finally. We need to understand why they're doing this. Dr. Olivia Martinez was having breakfast when her phone rang. As Earth's top expert in alien languages, she wasn't surprised to be called. She had expected first contact for years. She just hadn't expected it to be so unfriendly. 6 hours later, she stood in the White House Situation Room, explaining her findings to President Winters and a room full of worried officials. The Galactic Council is a group of over 300 alien species, Martinez said, pointing to images on the screen. They've shared some of their historical archives as part of their message. They claim it's evidence of why we're dangerous. And what did you find? Winters asked. They're afraid of us, Madam President. Not because we're violent, but because we're moving too fast. Martinez brought up a chart showing technological development across different species. According to their data, species that develop space travel too quickly often destroy themselves. Admiral Harris frowned. They think they're saving us from ourselves? Exactly, Martinez nodded. They've seen 3 other civilizations achieve faster-than-light travel too quickly. All 3 either had civil wars that destroyed their planets, or created weapons they couldn't control. So this is some kind of intervention? Winters asked. Yes. In their view, they're being merciful. Their archives show they've completely wiped out other species they considered threats. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. The aliens could have attacked immediately. Instead, they had given Earth time to comply. What are our options? Winters finally asked. Admiral Harris spoke first. We could try to fight, but their technology is centuries ahead of ours. We could give in, suggested the Secretary of State. Abandon our colonies and hope they leave us alone. Winters shook her head. No, humanity doesn't belong only on Earth anymore. There must be another way. Dr. Martinez had been studying more of the alien data on her tablet. She looked up. Madam President, I think there is. The Council has rules and procedures. They're not just conquerors. They see themselves as peacekeepers. What are you suggesting? I think we need to talk to them directly, not just respond to broadcasts. We need to understand them better. Winters nodded slowly. Who do we send? The answer came 3 days later. Captain Ryan Murphy stood at attention as President Winters explained his mission. He was tall with kind eyes and a reputation for staying calm in dangerous situations. Captain, you'll lead our first diplomatic mission to the Council. The fate of Earth's future in space may depend on what you learn. Murphy nodded. I understand, Madam President. Who's on my team? Dr. Alan Peterson, our best physicist. Security Chief Samantha Wright for protection and tactical assessment. And Joe Garcia as cultural liaison. You leave tomorrow on the Issei Horizon. The Horizon was Earth's newest space vessel. It wasn't as big or impressive as the alien ship, but it was the best humans had built. As final preparations were made, Dr. Martinez worked with Murphy's team on communication strategies. Remember, try to understand their perspective, she advised. They think they're doing the right thing. Finding common ground will be essential. As the Horizon prepared to leave Earth's orbit, millions watched on screens around the world. The small human ship approached the massive alien vessel, looking. Tiny and vulnerable beside it, Captain Murphy took a deep breath and opened a channel. Galactic Council vessel, this is Captain Ryan Murphy of Earth. We come in peace and wish to speak directly with your representatives. There was a long pause. The crew of the Horizon waited, hearts pounding. Finally, a response came. Earth vessel, you are permitted to dock Airlock 17. Bring no weapons. The High Executor will grant you audience. Murphy looked at his team. Their faces showed a mix of fear and determination. This was humanity's first step into a larger universe, even if it began with a threat. Well, Murphy said with a small smile, let's go meet the neighbors. As the Horizon moved toward the alien ship. Back on Earth, President Winters addressed the world. She spoke of hope and unity in the face of this challenge, but privately, she worried. The Galactic Council had given Earth an ultimatum with no room for compromise. Yet somehow, they needed to find a way forward that didn't mean giving up the stars. Unknown to everyone, Dr. Martinez had discovered something else in the Council's archives, something that might change everything. But first, Murphy's team needed to establish direct contact and learn more about these aliens who thought they knew what was best for humanity. The inside of the Galactic Council ship was strange and beautiful. The walls glowed with soft blue light. The air smelled like cinnamon and ocean. Captain Ryan Murphy led his team through wide hallways that seemed to be made of metal and glass. Mixed together, 4 aliens waited for them at the end of a long corridor. They looked like tall, thin humans with blue-gray skin and large eyes. They wore robes with symbols that probably showed their rank. I am Zilthran, High Executor of the Galactic Council, said the tallest alien. Its voice sounded both male and female at the same time. You have been permitted this audience to better understand the Council's decision. Murphy stepped forward. Thank you for meeting with us. We hope to find a solution that works for everyone. Zilthran's face showed no emotion. There is no negotiation. Your species advances too quickly and without proper guidance. The decision is made for the safety of all. Joe Garcia, the cultural liaison, noticed how the aliens stood. They kept perfect posture and never moved unless necessary. Everything about them seemed formal and rigid. We respect your concern, Garcia said carefully, but we wish to learn more about the Council. Your history and ways are new to us. This approach seemed to work. The aliens led them to a large room with a round table. The walls showed moving images of stars and planets. You may ask questions, Zilthran said. We will provide permitted information. For the next 6 hours, Murphy's team learned about the Galactic Council. They had existed for over 50,000 Earth years. They controlled most of the galaxy. Their main goal was stability and preservation. Dr. Alan Peterson asked about their technology. The answers surprised him. Their ships were amazing, but the designs were very old. When he asked about recent advances, the aliens seemed confused. The Council perfected these systems long ago, one alien named Kelter explained. Why would we change what works? Peterson shared a look with Murphy. The Council's technology was advanced, but it wasn't improving anymore. They were maintaining, not creating. Meanwhile, Security Chief Samantha Wright watched how the aliens interacted with each other. She noticed that some seemed uncomfortable when Zilthrin spoke. There was tension beneath their perfect manners. "How many species are part of the Council leadership?" Wright asked. "The High Council has representatives from 7 founding species," Zilthrin answered. "The Zorth, who I represent, hold the highest positions due to our role in forming the Council." "And do all members agree on all decisions?" Wright asked innocently. The question caused a small reaction. One of the other aliens, smaller with feather-like hair, shifted slightly. "The Council speaks with one voice," Zilthrin said firmly. But Wright had seen enough to know there were cracks in their unity. After the meeting, Murphy's team was shown to rooms where they could rest. The rooms were comfortable but plain, like nice hotel rooms with no decoration. "They're afraid of change," Peterson said once they were alone and could talk freely. "Their whole society is built on keeping things the same, and they're not as united as they want us to think," Wright added. "Did you see how that bird-like one reacted?" "There's disagreement within the Council." Garcia nodded. "Their entire culture is based on tradition and hierarchy. The highest value seems to be stability. Anything unpredictable is seen as dangerous. So they look at Earth, see how fast we're developing space technology, and it scares them," Murphy concluded. "Not because we're a real threat, but because we represent change." For the next 3 days, they continued to meet with different Council members. Garcia convinced the aliens to show them around parts of the massive ship. They saw gardens with plants from hundreds of worlds. They visited a museum of Council history. In the museum, Peterson made an important discovery. He noticed that the Council's technology hadn't changed much in thousands of years. The earliest ships looked almost the same as the newest ones. "They reached a point and just stopped," he told Murphy. "It's like they decided they were advanced enough and didn't need to go further." Wright made her own discovery. While exploring areas they were allowed to visit, she overheard an argument between 2 Council members. One was bird-like with colorful feathers and erythy. The other was from a water species with webbed hands, a merlon. They were speaking their own language, but Wright's translator picked up enough. "The humans show promise. Different approach. Unnecessary restriction. ... double quotes, the erythy was saying. "The Zorth will never allow ... Too much power already." The merlin replied. When they noticed Wright, they quickly stopped talking. But she had heard enough to confirm her suspicions. The Council was divided about how to deal with Earth. On their 4th day, Garcia had a breakthrough. During a cultural exchange session, he was allowed to view ancient Council texts about governance. "They see themselves as protectors," he explained. To the team that night, not conquerors. "They genuinely believe they're saving us from ourselves. They call it protective dominion, the idea that advanced species have a duty to guide younger ones." Murphy considered this information. "So they're not evil. They're just stuck in their ways and genuinely think they know best." "Exactly," Garcia said. "And that gives us something to work with." On the final day of their visit, Murphy requested a meeting with Zilthrin alone. The High Executor agreed, curious about what the human captain wanted to say privately. "High Executor, thank you for allowing us to learn about the Council," Murphy began. "We better understand your perspective now." Zilthrin nodded slightly. "Then you understand why you must accept our decision." "With respect, we cannot abandon our progress," Murphy said. "But we believe there's another way forward that respects both our societies." Zilthrin's large eyes narrowed. "Explain." "We would like to invite Council representatives to Earth, see our world firsthand, learn who we really are. Before you judge us as dangerous, truly know us." The alien was silent for a long moment. "This is unusual. The Council does not typically interact so directly with restricted species. Maybe that's part of the problem, Murphy suggested gently. You've seen species destroy themselves before, but you've never tried to truly understand them first. As Murphy left the meeting, he wasn't sure if he had made any progress. But when he rejoined his team to prepare for their return to Earth, a message came from Zilthrin. The Council will send observers to your world. This does not change our decision, but we will learn more before the deadline. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As the Horizon departed from the Council ship, Murphy looked at his team. We've opened a door, he said. Now we need to show them something they don't expect. Back on Earth, Dr. Martinez had been working day and night studying the Council archives. When she finally found what she was looking for, she immediately called President Winters. Madam President, she said, her voice excited despite her exhaustion. I know how we can change their minds, but we'll need to do something completely unexpected. President Lisa Winters stood before the United Nations in New York City. Leaders from every nation watched her with worried faces. The giant screens behind her showed pictures of the Galactic Council ship still floating above Earth. We face the greatest challenge in human history, she said in a clear, strong voice. But I believe we have found a way forward. She turned and nodded to Dr. Olivia Martinez, who stepped up to the podium. The Council fears us because they think we will destroy ourselves like other species before us, Martinez explained. But they don't understand something important about humans. We learn from our mistakes. Martinez showed images of Earth from 100 years ago, cities covered in smog, oceans full of plastic, forests burning. Then she showed current images, clean cities with green buildings, healthy oceans, and restored forests. We almost destroyed our planet, but we saved it instead, Martinez said. That's what makes us different. President Winters returned to the podium. The Council has sent observers to Earth. They will be here for 6 months. During this time, we will show them who we truly are. She looked directly at the cameras. I am asking every person on Earth to help. This is not about fighting. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity deserves its place among the stars. The President's plan was bold and surprising. Instead of preparing for war or giving in to the Council's demands, Earth would share everything they had learned about saving their planet. They would offer knowledge instead of resistance. Dr. Benjamin Scott led the Environmental Reclamation Initiative, which had helped clean Earth's oceans and air. Now he worked with scientists around the world to prepare data packages about Earth's recovery. We need to show them everything, he told his team. How we brought back extinct animals. How we stopped climate change. How we developed technologies that work with nature instead of against it. His team gathered research from the past century. They created simple, clear presentations that could be understood by aliens who knew nothing about Earth. The first group of Council observers arrived a week later. There were 12 aliens from 7 different species. They looked strange to human eyes. Some had too many limbs. Others had skin that changed colors. And one looked like a walking plant. The lead observer was named Xylos, a tall, thin alien, with gray skin and 4 arms. President Winters greeted them at the White House. Welcome to Earth, she said. We have prepared something for you. Instead of speeches or formal meetings, Winters handed Xylos a data crystal containing all of Earth's research on environmental restoration. This is our gift to the Galactic Council, she said. Everything we have learned about saving our world. We offer it freely, with no conditions. Xylos looked confused. The alien held the crystal carefully, as if unsure what to do with it. I do not understand, Xylos said finally. You give valuable knowledge to those who have threatened you? Yes, Winters replied simply. Because knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. That is what humans believe. The observers spent the next month traveling around Earth. They visited restored rainforests in Brazil, clean energy plants in China, and ocean cleanup stations in the Pacific. Everywhere they went, humans shared more information with them. Commander Helen Foster, captain of Earth's first true deep space vessel Voyager, was assigned to escort the observers. She was patient and kind, answering their many questions. Why do you not charge other nations for your water purification system? One observer asked after visiting a facility in Africa. Because clean water is a right, not a privilege, Foster explained. We succeed together or fail together. That's how we survived our darkest times. The observers seemed most confused by human art and music. Foster brought them to concerts, museums, and theaters. She gave them books of poetry and novels. Your species spends much time on activities with no practical purpose, said Xylos after attending a symphony. Foster smiled. Art helps us understand ourselves and each other. It connects us in ways technology cannot. As the observers learned more about Earth, something unexpected happened. They began to ask more questions. They requested more information. Some even started to show emotions like surprise or wonder. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, the data from Earth was causing confusion. The Council's leadership couldn't understand why humans would share valuable knowledge with those who threatened them. Council, Mediator Xylos sent an urgent message. Request clarification on human response. Why gratitude instead of resistance? President Winters worked with Dr. Martinez to craft the perfect reply. It was short and simple. Humans believe in helping others, even those who may not yet be friends. Knowledge grows when shared. The Councils. Observers continued their work on Earth. They visited the Mars colony, where they met senior scientist Paul Johnson, who had designed the habitat systems. Our buildings work like Earth's forests, Johnson explained as he showed them around. Nothing is wasted. Everything is reused. The observers studied the Mars systems carefully. One of them, a small blue alien named Telex, seemed especially interested. This design is unlike anything in Council records, Telex said. You build with nature, not against it, Johnson nodded. That's how we survived on Earth after nearly destroying it. We learned to work with our planet instead of trying to control it. While the observers were learning about humanity, humans were learning about the Council. Dr. Martinez studied every piece of information the aliens shared. She discovered more about the Council's history and the different species that were part of it. The Erythi and Merlon species seem most open to us, she told President Winters during a private meeting. They've been arguing for a different approach to Earth. Can we use that? Winters asked. Martinez nodded. I think so. We've arranged for representatives from both species to visit our wildlife sanctuaries next week. It might help them see us differently. As the months passed, more Council observers arrived on Earth. They spread out across the planet, studying everything from farming methods to medical systems. Everywhere they went, humans welcomed them and shared information freely. The most surprising moment came when young engineer Diane Collins presented her new fusion containment design to a group of Council scientists. Her system was simple but brilliant, solving a problem the aliens had struggled with for centuries. You created this? Asked a Council engineer. And you're giving it to us? Collins nodded. Of course. It might help other worlds. That's more important than keeping it for ourselves. The Council engineer was silent for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, the alien bowed slightly to Collins. Perhaps, the engineer said quietly, the Council has much to learn from Earth. As the 6-month observation period reached its halfway point, Dr. Martinez called an emergency meeting with President Winters. Something's happening with the Council, she said excitedly. The observers are sending more data back than required. They're asking to extend their stay. And look at this. She showed Winters a message intercepted from Council communications. It contained just one line. Reconsideration of Earth status may be necessary. For the first time since the giant ship appeared in orbit, President Winters felt real hope. Their unusual response to the Council's threat was working. By offering friendship instead of fear, Earth was changing the minds of beings from across the galaxy. Keep going, Winters told her team. Show them everything. Hold nothing back. No one knew if it would be enough to save Earth's future among the stars. But they had found a way to fight that no one, not even the ancient Galactic Council, had expected.